Everyone, welcome to the next lesson of our Spring Security course. So, in this lesson, I'm going to talk about a very common functionality that is required for any Spring Security based application, which is the brute force protection. Right. So, I'm going to talk about a couple of things here. Let's see what we are going to cover in this lesson. So, we are going to see what is the brute force attack, Spring Security brute force protection, if there is any out of the box feature that we can use, right? And then if how we can implement a different brute force protection in our Spring Security application, right? So the first question is, what is a brute force attack? So it's one of the mostly widely used attack where what happen is a malicious user will use some kind of a sophisticated program, and they will try a different combination of a username and password until they find which works, right? So it's basically stealing, trying to uh, it's a guessing thing, right? They try to guess username and password, and it's basically again a program which is really sophisticated, and they can easily break if you have a very simple username and password thing. All right. So the question is now, what are the different options to handle a brute force attack? So the one thing, before we get into the different options, one thing which is a very common requirement is you should have a set of a rule, and which basically tell what should be the password, what is the minimum length of the password, what are the combination that you should always use. And you might have seen in most of the application where you are doing a registration, they will probably not allow you to do to create a simple password. They will tell you it should have a lowercase, uppercase, special characters, a number, and all those different things. It cannot be less than 10 characters. So when you are designing your application, the first thing you should put in place is what is the password requirement. It's really critical when you start working around with your application, right? And it's really critical that you put those things first when you are designing application, rather than you introduce those into a later stage. Now let's see what are the different options we can handle that brute force attack. So first thing is the disable account. So this means that we can set a threshold that if you basically try two times, three times with the invalid credentials, we are going to lock disable your account, and then probably either you have to go through the reset password, or probably you may have to go some additional steps to unlock your account. So we are going to implement this functionality. All right. And then browser cookies, so that and you might have seen this as well. So that means we will basically, if it's coming, request is coming from the known devices. So cookies can be used to identify if it's a device is already known or unknown. So if it is from the unknown devices, probably you want to throw out a additional challenge, maybe sending out some kind of a security code which you have to fill in order to do a login, right? And this is another common kind of a workflow which is coming a lot into the modern applications, right? Then again, I said it's an automated account, right? So putting a captcha in place will help you to handle a lot of things, where captcha can identify if it's a bot request. Then even before getting into the application, captcha will basically throw out that login attempt. All right. And then adding an artificial delay. So these are automated programs. So the whole idea is, with every failed login attempt, you add an artificial delay. So if your first response will take 5 seconds telling, okay, your username and password is invalid. So next one might take 20 seconds. So it is an artificial delay. Your system might be able to understand in few nanoseconds, but you are adding that artificial delay. And the whole idea is making that auto program to basically making them a little more difficult, right? And then other is a multi-factor authentication, and this is a common requirement for financials or secure application, where even if you do a login with your correct username and password, you basically have to provide another token or an ID. It can be a token sent to your email or your phone, or there are some kind of additional kind of a I would say apps which generates one kind of random numbers. You can fill those numbers; those are in sync, and then if both are matches, you will be logged into the system. So these are the different things, and as I said, we are going to look into the first one. So there is no built-in feature within the Spring Security which says that hey, if you exceed your these maximum or these login failures or attempts, you will be automatically locked in. But Spring Security is flexible and it provides you a lot of information which we can use to build this feature. And one of the interesting feature is for every failed login or every successful login, Spring Security published the events. So one is the failed login attempt events, and another is a authentication successful event, right? So regardless of what is the outcome, there will be an event which is published by Spring Security. So we can use those event to build our functionality. So that means for failed login attempt, we will create a listener which is going to listen to that event, and then we are going to basically keep track of how many times you have tried the login and you have failed, and if you exceed the threshold which we will be setting up in our system, uh, we are going to lock your account. Similarly, our authentication success event will be there. So that means if you are already if you successful, we basically want to reset that counter or that track to make sure that okay, next time when you again try to log in, we start from zero. Okay. So for first thing, what we are going to do is we are going to create a brute force protection service. So for to save some time, I have created this service, but it's a straightforward service. It's a simple one. First thing is a registered login failure. So I'm passing in a username, and it basically register every failed login. So it does two things. It basically create an counter. There is a counter. It keep on incrementing the counter for every failed login attempt. Then it also check if you're exceeding the configured threshold. If yes, it basically locked on your account. And then there is a reset brute force counter. So this is a part of the successful authentication process. We want to reset the counter. And then this is the third method I have put in place where let's say you want to check whether the account has been locked due to the brute force. Probably you want to show a more personalized message to the customer that hey, after three unsuccessful login attempt, your account has been locked. So this method can be used there. Okay. Now, uh, before we go further, I want to show you the user entity. I have done a small change to the user entity. I have added two fields here, right? One is the failed login attempt. This is an counter which keep on incrementing for every failed login attempt. And then if it exceeds, my service will set this flag as login disable as true. Okay. And if the other thing which I have put already in place is the customer account service. Okay. Not this one. User detail service which is used by our DAO authentication provider. Okay, so for our application, if you remember from the previous lesson, we are using the DAO authentication provider, and within the DAO authentication provider we are injecting our custom user detail service. Okay, so I have done a small change here where in the disabled flag I am basically getting the information from the customer entity. That's the only change. The rest of the things are or will be automatically taken by Spring Security. So if account is disabled, even if your login attempt is successful, Spring Security will treat it as a failed login attempt because your account is disabled. So until unless your disable flag is set to false, any subsequent request will be rejected by Spring Security, and this is good. So let's take an example. You tried three times, your account is locked. Now fourth time you tried with a successful username and password, but still Spring Security will not let you in because your account is locked, and which is good because let's say after three login attempt your account is locked. Someone is again trying, and this time they are able to get a correct username and password, but they won't be able to log in into the system. All right. Now let's go back to our brute force protection service now. Okay, so this is the count I have set into the application.property. Okay, let's go back here in our application.service, the brute force attack, this is set to, that means I'm only using it up to 2 times. So if you tried it 2 times and both time it's an incorrect username and password, your account will be locked. And this is straightforward. I'm getting in the user entity, trying to get infect an user based upon our user repository, which we have used throughout our course. Okay, so if user is not null and his account is not disabled, I don't want to run any logic if account is already disabled, because it's disabled, right? And then if it is not disabled, user is there, I'm getting the failed counter from the database, comparing it if it's exceeding the threshold. If it exceeds the threshold, we basically disable the account. Otherwise, we simply increment the counter and update the user into our database. Simple enough, straightforward. All right. And then user entity, this is the reset brute force attack for successful, where we want to reset it. It's simple, getting the user. If user is not null, we basically set the failed login attempt to 0, unlock the account, easy and straightforward. All right. There is a one thing which I have not implemented, and I will let you to decide and come up with the implementation, is cache. So think about it. If your application is a high transactional site, maybe having a 2000 3000 logins per minute or maybe per hour, you don't want to keep on checking all things into the database. So you can use some sort of caching there, where you store the username and what is the failed login there, right, the counter there. But you have to be careful that this is a straightforward concurrent hash map. This is not going to work into the multi-cluster or a multi-tenant or a cluster environment, because until unless you come up with an option where this is a basically every cluster is talking to the other cluster and telling them how many failed login attempts are there for a given user. So you may have to come up with some sort of a centralized management, maybe an Redis cache, where you have a map implementing there, right? Now we are going to implement our failure listener. Okay, so this is going to be our failure listener, and I'm going to implement the Spring Framework application listener here, right? This is not part of, basically only a part of the Spring Security, but it's a part of the Spring Framework, and I'm going to listen about a specific event. Okay, in my case it is going to be authentication failure bad credential event. So that means every time when you try with invalid bad credentials, Spring Security kind of generates an event, and it tells what kind of a failure it is. For our case, it's a bad credential event, right? Just remember that there are a multiple failure events generated by Spring Security. So based upon your requirement, you may want to change this one, or you want to make it more generic, and then you want to listen to the multiple failure types, right? So go to the description. I have added a link where you can go through the different event published by the Spring Security, and you can modify or adapt to those things in your application, right? Straightforward, right? I'm just injecting my brute force protection service in this one. Okay, and the other thing is, let's make it smaller event. Okay, now the first thing I'm interested is getting the username from the event. The good news is Spring Security provides you that detail. So with every successful or a failed event, it basically give me the authentication object, and within the authentication object, I can get the name, which is the username. Now the second thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my, okay, so this is straightforward, right? So we are basically just registering a username. Similarly, we are going to create a success handler, and in that success handler, we again get the username and reset the counter. Okay, success listener, right? It is again listening to the authentication success event. I'm doing nothing different here, getting a username and then resetting the brute force counter. All right. Now that basically put place all the required things. In terms of if login failed, it basically register that failure, and then if it's successful, it reset the counter. But probably you want to show maybe a customized message to the front end, right? You don't want to give them an error message saying username and password is invalid, because that will probably confuse a user. They don't know what needs to be done. And let's say if the user account has been locked because of some kind of attack that happened in the system, you want to tell them that hey, reset your password or probably follow these steps to unlock your account, right? So in order to do that, you have to do a little bit of a customization. So again, if you remember from our previous lesson, especially from the login thing, we are basically every failed login will be handled through this login controller, and especially the login method, and it will basically get a request parameter with the name and error. Right now we are not doing anything, but what we are going to do is we are going to pull out the username, and then we will check whether this username is is locked because of the this brute force attack, and if yes, we want to give them a different message altogether. Okay, so what we are going to do is I have written a method which is a get username. It does a very simple thing. It basically get a uh, value from the session. Okay, and then if value is found, it basically remove that value from the session, and it basically return the username. And in my login error method, I'm going to do two things. Okay, I'm going to check if the username is not empty, and then I'm also going to check if the account is not locked uh, because of the brute force attack. Okay. All right. So I'm getting in a username, checking if username is not empty, and then in the customer account service, this is another service, but it does a very simplistic things, right? If you're interested, let's go there. Let's see what I'm doing. I'm getting a user. If user is not null, I'm giving back the login disable flag. Otherwise, I'm setting a false for the null user. Okay. And then I'm setting this key account locked as true. All right. Now, one thing again which you have to be careful is that by default, when the control is given back to your login controller, everything will be cleared out by Spring Security. So what was the username filled by user will not be available here. Okay, and that's part of the security framework. They don't want to expose those details, so they are wiping it out before handing over the control to us. So in order to keep track of that username, because without that username you won't be able to get that information, user information, so you need that email ID at least for sure, right? So in order to do that, you probably have to use the handlers. If you remember our success handlers, right? Similarly, we can create uh, a failure handler, right? So the failure handler is again simpler. You basically extending the out of the box failure handler, and in our failure handler I'm doing a very simple thing. I'm getting one value from the request parameter and setting a value to the session. So username is the form field name, which is a username, right? And be careful that prior to I think Spring Security 4, this field name was J underscore username or something like that, right? But they have changed this to the username and to after Spring Security 4. So based upon your form name, probably you want to go with the different things altogether, right? So I'm doing just setting it into the session. Now if you do that, you have to basically configure this handler or a failure handler to the security configuration. And to do that, I'm going to open this app configuration, and in our failure handler I'm calling this method, which is basically doing this thing. Okay, so in the login authentication failure handler, I am telling what is the default failure, and it's just creating a bean, passing some default values and configuring it. So what is going to happen is now two things. With every failed login attempt, Spring Security will call this handler. This handler is going to basically, let's open that one quickly, okay? This handler is doing nothing but it's passing the control to the out of the box Spring Security failure handler, but at the same time it basically stores the username into the current session. All right, and then at the same time our listener will be notified. We are basically storing the failed login attempt, tracking the failed login attempt into the database, and then taking an action, right? And once your login is failed, right, we go back to our login controller. All right, and with the login controller we already have a username which we saved into the failure handler. We basically pull out the information and show a customized message to the customer. Okay, that's enough. I think how the different implementation has been done. Now let's see this in action. Application got started, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to intentionally fill the wrong password. Okay, and let's try this out. Okay, you see I'm getting a username and password is incorrect, right? Let's try it again. I'm again going to fill the wrong password here. Let's try that out. Don't update, again getting the same thing, right? I quickly want to show you the database here. If I run this query, you see my failed login attempts are 2, but my login disable is still not there. Okay, let's try the third time. Okay, again let's go there, fill a wrong password, click on sign in, and now this time I got the different message which says your account has been locked because I exceeded the threshold which was 2. All right, go back to our database, run this query again, and my account has been disabled. Now I'm keeping it simple, but you can add it here saying okay, click on reset password to reset your password and all those different things. Or maybe you can tell that your account has been locked because of 2 unsuccessful login attempts, right? uh, but that gives you an idea how this entire thing works. And again, it's really kind of a handy thing about the events and all those things, how we use those events to build this feature. Again, I hope that this give you an idea how to protect your application, how to build this feature for your Spring Security application. And if you like these tutorials and these lessons, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share these tutorials with your friends. Thanks for watching this tutorial.